It's so good to have you here. How are you doing? Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want us to look at some basic communication skills, how we convey a message. It could be unwritten, it could be a written message or a verbal message. But you see, communication is key because sometimes you can be misunderstood. Sometimes you have good intention, but it's possible the way you have communicated it did not come out right to the recipient. So I want us to look at some basic communication skills. Let's look at some basic guidelines. Now, for starters, we have two broad forms of communication: formal communication and informal. So it's important for you to know, on what basis are you even communicating? Now, once we have that established, it's a on formal basis or informal basis, it guides you to know how to be able to pass your message across, appropriately. Now, on formal basis, for example, you're communicating. Formal, it could be business, it could be your boss in the office, it could be someone your supervisor, your senior. Meaning to say, formal is somebody you don't really know, or somebody you don't have a personal relationship, with. So you must guard, how you convey your message properly. Now, in a formal communication, in addressing somebody, for example, whether it's a text message, whether it's an email, whether it's orally, you must ensure that you're using the last name basis. For example, someone you're saying you want to greet somebody, for example, whether you're writing an email, whether it's a phone conversation or a text, you should read it. As I said, it's on formal basis. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, madam. Good morning, ma. Then you can also, decide to use the second name basis. Good morning, Mr. Ford. You don't say good morning, Tony. That's with the first name. Now, some parts of the world, it's okay. But you see, we're looking at the industry best practice. You know what I mean? Right. So, on a formal basis, always address people with their last name. And in greeting, you must greet properly. Good morning, sir. Not hi, Tony. Hello, hey you. That definitely is gonna be offensive to the person you're greeting. For example, if the person is your boss or a business meet or somebody you don't even really know the person, or somebody is your senior, in career or business, you should be able to know you inform in your communication. You must communicate with some level of respect, whether written, whether oral communication. Even in your text, sometimes we overlook it. In your text messages, you must communicate with great level of respect. Remember, this actually speaks volume of you as an individual, because sometimes it's not telling, oh, I'm this, I'm that. No. What you do actually conveys your personality and conveys your character. Okay, so in formal basis, as we said, you must always, I'm looking into my laptop, you must know how to, greet properly, and also avoid abbreviations, slangs, what's up, hey you, in your formal communication, especially in your text messages. You must ensure that, you seem professional and and respectful. As I said, no slangs, no abbreviations. You see this a lot in text messages. And sometimes you're now struggling to remember how to, write a particular word because you have abbreviated so much. So, especially while you're communicating formally in text messaging, please write out the entire word. Write it out. There's certain things you shouldn't abbreviate. Make it very professional and make it, very respectful. Then also, I wanted to, give us some guidelines, which, like one I have actually said, know the difference between a formal communication and an informal communication. Informal, your friends, your buddies, your family, even your family. There's certain level, like your parents or your uncles, seniors, you'll be able to know how to still communicate with respect. You don't expect to say, oh, hey, you, to your big uncles or to your parents. So you must be able to differentiate between the formal and informal communication. Then also in written communication, you have to be very careful because sometimes you have good intention, but the way you have conveyed the message will come out rude and might come out inappropriate. So you must be polite, ensure your grammar is correct. Sometimes bad English, comes out in a bit offensive to some people. It's just the way it is. So ensure that you're polite. Start every communication with a greeting. You find people they don't even greet. They just go straight to the point. Even in your email, good morning, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Oh, good morning, Chinyere. Start with a greeting. That's being polite. Ensure that your grammar is correct. It's something you have to be intentional about. Ensure you go through, have a spell check done. Don't be in a hurry to send your message because once you've sent it, you can't, delete it. So read through your grammar and ensure your grammar is correct. Ensure the message you're passing across is appropriate to whoever you're passing across to, and be precise. Whether it's on a formal basis or an informal basis. Don't come out offensive. Don't come out rude. Like I said, always start with a greeting. Then depending on the level of formality, be a bit pleasant. How are you? Don't just go off like that and go straight to whatever it is you want to say. Some people they won't greet. That's very, very rude. So you must ensure that in your communication, whether on formal basis, informal basis, you have to greet. And when you greet properly. Then you'll be able to know if it's a form on formal basis or on informal. Formal, of course, you already know, in your greeting, address the person right, last name basis, or with the proper prefix, Mr. Ford. Don't just say, oh, Tony, okay? Then you must ensure that in your communication conveys the message that actually you intend, for it to convey. You don't misquote, you don't convey the wrong message. You see that? So you must ensure that you communicate right. You know why? Because you get to make a first impression once. And that first impression is a lasting impression. You can't erase it. In split second, you actually communicate to someone. the person will be able to know, oh, is this a rude person? Is this person professional? In split second. So these are some of the guidelines. And your style of communication speaks of your personality and your character. Your style of communication actually shows, oh, she has eyes for details, because if you can be able to send a text message with a lot of grammatical errors, it actually shows you don't have eyes for detail. Because once you've written a letter, once you've written an email, once you've written anything, whether it's a text, read through it again. Don't be in a hurry. Have a spell check done. Go through what you have written and ensure you're communicating your intention, you're communicating properly, it's appropriate, your English is right. So do a proper check. And for example, you're starting a sentence, the first letter should start with capital and uppercase. For example, I will meet you at 12 noon. That I should be in capital. But you find some people just be careless. That first letter will be in small letters. We were taught we start our sentences, right? With, capital letters. So don't overlook your grammar, your punctuations. You see that? So you must ensure you give attention to these things, whether on a formal basis or whether on formal or informal basis. In a formal communication, please avoid emojis. It's not a personal, communication. So totally, you have to avoid emojis. Now, there's a difference between the verbal communication and non-verbal. Verbal is spoken, right? Whether you have written the email, whether you have said it, it's a verbal communication. Now there is a non-verbal communication which is so loud. Sometimes somebody has not said anything to you, but they have said something to you. For example, you ask somebody a question. Shouldn't you get a response, right? For example, you say, Angela, remember we have a meeting at 2 a.m.? Would you be ready by then? Now, this is somebody you're asking, and the person simply ignores you. Or the person might not mean, in quote, as I said, it might not be intentional. But the person does not know really. This is rude. When people ask you a question, you should give them a response. Sometimes the person just be staring at you. Or for example, some things come out rude. You might not agree with what somebody have said. And that is, you didn't say anything. Sometimes you might not even say, and you. That is a non-verbal communication, and that is rude. It simply shows you do not agree with what the person said. For example, like somebody says something like, that is non-verbal, right? But it seems rude. Because you're actually trying to say, oh, really? Are you talking to me? So sometimes the non-verbal communication speaks louder than, because if I ask you a question, you tell me, oh no, Chinyere. That's fine. Rather than you're like, that is rude. So sometimes it comes, sometimes it's unintentional, in quotes. So you must be careful of the non-verbal non-verbal communication. You must watch yourself, even the way you stand. Sometimes the way you stand seemingly conveys the wrong message. Sometimes the way you sit, that's communication. That's non-verbal. So the next person is reading a message from that. You haven't said anything, but the way you're all flaunting over, that is non-verbal, and you are communicating, whether it's intentional or non-intentional. You're actually saying something. So sometimes a non-verbal communication, some people just nod. If you can actually say something. It's more polite. Especially when somebody asks you a question, you should be polite enough to respond with an answer, than you just, So in our communication, we must be able to know, especially whether it's on a formal basis, how we'll be able to convey our message so it comes out right, it comes out precise, it comes out appropriate, and it comes out polite. And remember, always in your formal communication, second name basis, greet properly. In every form of communication, always greet first. A lot of people in text messages, it's so rude. They won't even greet you. They just go off. Or you have asked them a question like, oh, good morning. I just wanted to find out this from you. The next thing your person just, oh, no. But the person just greeted you. It doesn't take anything from you. Just a conscious, it's just civil. Okay? So ensure that, you don't come out of, rather seemingly offensive in your mode of communication. And no slangs, no abbreviation, especially in this era we have to text, Ensure that you text properly. And also, very, very important, watch your command of English. Ensure that your grammar, do a proper grammar check. Whether you're sending an email, whether it's a text message, always ensure, don't be in a hurry to click on send. Remember, once you've clicked on send, it's gone. So always ensure you do, a proper grammar check, because remember, you communicate your personality, you communicate your character in any mode of communication. So let's consciously, work on ourselves in this area. Thank you so much for watching. If these videos are adding value to you, please kindly subscribe, please kindly share, and please kindly like these videos. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing the next episode.